All right, guys, so we're starting our next lesson. Our next lesson is going to be graphing and writing, graphing and writing linear equations review. So here it says, draw a line through the given point with the given slope. Okay, so first they give us this point. This point is A, which is -3, 1. So I'm going to go ahead and graph it. -3, 1 would land right here. And then they tell us that the slope here is 3. Okay, so that means that we're going to have a rise of 3. So 1, 2, 3, and a run of 1. Okay, and so I want you guys to make as many points as possible that'll fit on the graph. So 1, 2, 3, run 1. And there's my 3 points. And then we're just going to make a line connecting all these dots. And there you go. Okay, so let's try the next one. This one says 5, 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2. And then here our slope is -4, 3. So that means we're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, and to the right 1, 2, and 3. And then we go down 1, 2, 3, 4, and to the right 1, 2, and we're going to go a little off the graph. And that would be our graph. All right, let's look at the next section. It says graph the following equations of the form y equals mx plus b. So this time they give us the equation. We have to look at the slope. In this case, our slope is -2. And then we have to look at our y-intercept. Our y-intercept is a +3. So that is where we begin. That's why they put a letter b there. We begin on our y-axis at +3. And from there, we're going to go down 2, 1, 2, to the right 1. And then we go again down 2 to the right 1. And we keep going, going, going until we can't fit any more points on the graph. And then we connect them all. All right, let's look at the next example. So we look at our slope. It's a number b multiplied with the x. So in this case, our m is 2/5. Okay, that's our rise over our run. Then we look for our b. Our b is our y-intercept, which is a number that's by itself. So in this case, it is -1. Okay, so that's where we begin. We begin on our y-axis at -1. And then from there, our rise is 2. So 1, 2, and our run is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We go again. 1, 2 is our rise. Our run is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And there you go. We connect our dots. And that's it. All right, the next one, it says graph the following equations of the form ax plus by equals c. So if we recall from the last lesson, to find our slope m, we are going to do -a over b. Okay, and our y-intercept b is c divided by b. Okay, so if we look here, our a here is 2, so it would be -2 divided by our b is 8. And we simplify, so that means that our slope here is going to be -1/4. Okay, and then for our y-intercept, we're going to do c, which is a number that's by itself after the equal sign, which is 12. And we're going to divide that by b, and our b is 8. Okay, so 12 divided by 8 gives us, if we reduce that, that would give us 3/2. Okay, but I know how we are not 100% good at graphing fractions, 3/2. So what we're going to do is we're going to change that to a decimal, and that gives us 1.5. Okay, so we are going to begin at 1.5 on our graph. So that's where 1.5 would go. So it's going to be a little tricky when we're making the line, because from there we're going to have to go down 1, which would be right here. That would be 1 unit down. And then we're going to go to the right 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that would be 1 point. Okay. And then we're going to go down 1, and then to the right 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then that's it. So we just go ahead and connect our dots. Okay, so let's go ahead and try the next one. Doing the same thing, we need to remember that m is equal to negative a over our b. In this case, our a is 3. So it's going to be negative 3 over, and our b, remember if there's no coefficient in front of the y, it's actually a 1. So it's going to be a negative 1. Now negative 3 divided by negative 1 is going to give us a positive 3. Okay, so our rise over run is going to be 3 over 1. And then our b, our y-intercept, we're going to have to take c, which is this negative 6 that's by itself, and then you divide it by b, and we said b was negative 1. So negative 6 divided by negative 1 is going to give us a positive 6. So that's where we began. We began at positive 6, and then we said our slope was rise 3, 1, 2, 3, and run 1. That's going to be the only point that fits. We go ahead and graph it, and there you go. Okay, so horizontal and vertical lines, remember when we're doing a horizontal or vertical line, first we figure out it says x equals 7, so that means we have to look on the x-axis, and here's where 7 would go. And then you make a line going straight through it. If you make a line on the axis, you did it wrong. So you have to go vertical. So unless it says 0, you should not be on top of that axis. Okay, we won't give you any problems like that. And then y equals negative 4. We look for negative 4 on our y-axis. Here's negative 4. And we go straight through it. That's it. All right, writing linear equations. So write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line with a given slope that contains a given point. All right, so we're writing a slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. Okay, but you have to fill in something for m, which we know m is negative 2 over 5, so we have that, but you also have to fill in something for b. That would give you slope-intercept form. But we don't know what the y-intercept is. But what we do know is they do give us an x value and a y value. So we're going to go ahead and plug those in. So instead of y, I'm going to put 1 equals. We already know what m is. We know m is negative 2 over 5. And then they also give us our x value. They tell us our x is 5. Okay, but what we don't know is a b, and that's what we're looking for. That's what we're trying to figure out. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start solving for b. So let's see, 1 equals negative 2 over 5 times 5. Well, we know negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. And that stays over 5, and then plus b. And negative 10 divided by 5 gives us negative 2 plus b. And we'll move the 2 to the other side. So 3 is equal to b. So now that we know what b is, we can go ahead and write the equation of our line. Our equation is y equals, remember how I said we do need to plug in the m and the b. So it'll be y equals negative 2/5 x plus, and our b is 3. And that would be our equation of our line. All right, so let's go ahead and try the next one. So here, we're going to use the exact same formula, y equals mx plus b. So they already tell us what m is. They tell us that m is equal to 5. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in a 5 here. Then we also look to see what they give us. They give us that x is negative 2. So instead of x, I'm going to plug in a negative 2. And then the next thing they give us is 6. So we know y is equal to 6. So instead of y here, I'm going to go ahead and put a 6. So 6 equals 5 times negative 2. We don't know what b is. That's what we're looking for. So we can write the equation of our line. So here, we're going to get 6 equals 5 times negative 2 is negative 10 plus b. And then to solve for b, we need to move the 10 to the other side. And the way we cancel it out is by adding a positive 10 to it. It cancels. 6 plus 10 is 16 equals a positive b. Okay, so now that we know what b is, we can go ahead and write the equation of our line. So y equals our slope m is 5, and then x plus, and our b is 60. And that's it. That's our equation of our line. All right, the last two examples. All right, so this time they give us 2 points, okay? Now, the first one is x1. Our second point is x2. Our first point, the one is y1. And the second point is y2. That's my y value. So because they do not give us a slope, but they still want us to write it in slope-intercept form, they want us to write it in the form of y equals m times x plus b. Okay, but we have to figure out what m and b are this time. On the previous problem, they gave us the m. On this problem, they're not giving us the m. Luckily, there's a formula that you can find the slope with 2 points. So we can find what m is equal to by subtracting our y values, starting with the second point, and then you divide it by subtracting your x values. So 0 minus 2. When we do that, -7 minus 1 is -8. And 0 minus 2 is -2. And when we reduce that, that gives us a positive 4. Okay, and then we do the exact same thing that we did in these problems. Okay, the exact same thing. We pick the point, we plug it in, and we also plug in our slope. Now this time though, we can pick whichever point you want to pick. It doesn't matter which one you pick. We can pick the 2, 1 or the 0, -7. I'm going to pick the 0, -7. So I'm going to go ahead and plug it into this equation here. So I'm going to go ahead and write it. So -7 equals, we know that our slope is 4. We just figured that out. Times the x, which is 0. And then plus b. We don't know what b is. That's what we're trying to figure out. Well, 4 times 0 gives you 0. So -7 is equal to b. Okay, now that we found our m and our b, we can write in the form of y equals my m, my slope is 4, that's what we found here, x, and because my b is negative, instead of writing plus, we write -7. And that's it. Okay, so there's just that one extra step, and that extra step is right here that we have to add is finding the slope. Okay, so let's go ahead and try the next one. All right, so our m is equal to, we have to go ahead and look, our x values here, this is my x1, this is my x2, this is my y1, and this is my y2. Okay, so we start off on the top, we subtract our y values. So -2, and we subtract -6. Okay, it's very important that if you're subtracting a negative, you do need to write both the negatives down because you need to remember that that changes into a positive. On the bottom, we have our x value is 2, and we're subtracting a -6. And so when we subtract the -6, 2 negatives make a positive. So on the top, -2 plus 6 gives us 4. And 2 plus 6 on the bottom gives you 8. So 4 divided by 8 gives you 1/2. Okay, and then now that we have our slope here, we're going to pick one of these points. It doesn't matter which one you pick. This case, I'm going to pick the first point this time. So -6 and -6. Okay, it's both of them. So I am going to write it in the formula y equals mx plus b. So we already said that our y here is -6. So I'm going to put a -6 here. Equals. Our slope m, we said, or we found, was 1/2. And then we're going to multiply that times x. Our x value here is -6. And then the b, we don't know what that is. That's what we're trying to find. So here, plus b. All right, so we have -6. We're going to go ahead and take half of -6. Half of -6 is -3 plus b. And to solve for b, we're going to have to move this 3 to the other side by adding a +3 to it. It cancels it out. A -6 plus 3 gives you -3 equals equals b. So now we're ready to plug it into our formula. We have y equals, our slope that we found is 1/2 x. And then because our b is a -3, we don't put plus, we put -3. That's it. Thank you guys. Bye.